Erica back on the Crafty Meraki YouTube channel today with hopefully a little bit of inspiration and a few tips and tricks. Now on the screen you can see here that I'm kind of making myself a little bit of a color chart. So before I start coloring with my alcohol marker, so I use Copics, but use whatever you have. I like making myself a little color chart to kind of see which ones are the colors, because the caps don't always show you the true colors. So I do this to kind of have like a little bit of a reference for myself. And then I am using these exact colors to color in the gorgeous and lovely Reason to Smile stamp set, which I've stamped up with the Ink on 3 Blackout detail ink, which is Copic friendly. So I'm just coloring away here, and this is filmed in a time lapse. So if you want coloring tips, I will have another video next week with more in-depth coloring tips and tricks. Okay, so with some coloring done, now if you are if you're not comfortable with coloring, or if you feel like you don't have time to color, you can still use a gorgeous flower stamp. So I will show you a couple of examples. So one would be to heat emboss your image and then add some ink blending. So this is actually Gina K cardstock, and it's called, I'm gonna have to double check, Soft Stone. So I have cut out here a panel, which is an A2, so it's 5.5 by 4.25 inches. And I am going to heat emboss this in gold, but first I remember I am going to treat it for anti-static. So I like the powder in these EK tools, but I don't like this pathetic little brush thing, because it's like, it's like rubbed off, and you'll be here all day trying to cover this. So to save yourself some time, right, you unscrew this and make sure you do it over your project, because usually there's like a big blob of it stuck in the top here. So you tap out a fair amount. You're going to want a fair amount, because you're going to really want to make sure that you get your entire panel covered. And then make sure you screw that back on and put the lid on, put this away. Take a blending brush. So not like a sponge or anything, but a brush. Make sure it's clean. And then try to hold your cardstock as little as possible with your fingers, especially if, like me, you have oily, like really oily fingers, because the oil is what's going to make the embossing powder stick. So we're going to take our brush and we are going to go over this entire thing and get it all covered. So that is that done. And then you just tap this off, pop this into your MISTI or stamping tool, and a quick little brush, and you're ready to go. So we are going to put this in, and we're going to put a magnet over so it stays in place. And then we're going to take our beautiful Reason to Smile flower stamp here. And I'm going to make sure that our cardstock is all the way down. Okay, then we are going to use embossing ink, and we're going to go over this very, very thoroughly. And another top tip when it comes to embossing is to make sure that your ink pad is very nice and juicy. So it makes such an incredible difference by re-inking your ink pad regularly. So make sure you do that on a regular basis, because the results will be, it will blow your mind. Okay, so we're gonna push that down, and then we're gonna just stroke this up and down like, oh my precious. And we're gonna make sure, okay, so we're gonna need to go in a little bit more in the middle there, just to make sure that it's all really, really well covered. Like so. And there we have it. Okay, so this looks like a pretty good impression. So we're going to pop this out. Again, trying to touch it as little as possible. And we're going to put this away. And I think we are going to platinum, because that always looks amazing on gray. Right, so this is from Wow. and it's called Metallic Platinum Regular. But we're just going to sprinkle this over. So this you can do with any embossing powder you have. And just tap off the excess. And you can see here where I've been fiddling with my fingers. It's picked up a bit as well. So now, another top tip when it comes to heat embossing is to make sure that your heat tool is nice and hot. So we're going to put this on, or turn this on, and then we're going to let it reheat. So okay, so we are ready to go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pop this onto a cork board. And this is to keep your fingers safe while you're heat embossing. Look at that. Isn't that gorgeous? Oof. I mean, it's almost pretty enough just to have it like this. But what we're going to do now is we're going to take some ink. I'm going to be using Distress Oxides, but you can use any inks that you have that work as blending or with blending. So what I'm going to do is, because I've got my light gray cardstock here, I've gone for Tattered Rose, Dusty Concord, and Wilted Violet. So you might think this is a bit of a weird combination, and yes, I do kind of agree, but we're going to go for it anyway and see what happens. So usually I do go lightest to darker, but I think this time we're going to go darker to lighter because we're going to go in. So we're going to draw the eye in onto the design. So here's another little hack I have for ink blending to make sure that you don't get fingerprints onto your ink blending. So it's just a little piece of acetate with some post-it tape or washi tape, so you can actually see where it goes when it's down on your desk. So we're going to use this to protect our project. So we're going to go around the edges here and just kind of add a little bit of that color, because the whole point is to kind of create almost like a bit of a tunnel. So the focus is going to be right in the middle, and that's going to be the lightest part. So we're going to want it to kind of be really dark around the edges and then fade in towards the middle. Okay, so here's our finished ink blended panel. Now, if you look up close here, you will see that the ink has gone over the heat embossed edges, so they've kind of dulled a little bit, but we're going to fix that with another super simple trick and hack. So in my craft room, I have these old kitchen towels. So these were given to me and my husband as a engagement gift many years ago, because I was a child bride. Not really, I wasn't. But we got engaged like 20 odd years ago. So they've been through a lot, but I didn't want to throw them out because I liked repurposing and using things that I have. So I decided to put them in the craft room because they, you know, they don't have to be pretty here, and they're getting very colorful. So you take an edge of this, so wrap it around your finger like so. And then we're going to use our little acetate sheet here. First, we're going to actually clean this off a little bit, make sure that we don't mess up our heat embossing. Okay, so place that down, rewrap your finger, and then we're going to go over gently. So you don't want to rub too hard, because then you're going to rub the ink underneath as well. So you're just going to want to go over the edges when you can feel that they are there. And already you can tell the difference. So I'm going to do half of this flower so you can see what I mean. And then we're going to hold this up to the light, and just so you can see what a difference that makes. So if you look at this flower here, you can clearly see the difference in getting that cleaned off. And that was just with a simple little rub. So we're going to go over this quite thoroughly and make sure that we get everything sort of polished up again. So look at that. Look what difference that made. And it's not, again, like nice and shiny. So what I'm going to do with this is probably splatter some gold all over it because it's just nice, right? And then we're going to finish it off with a simple sentiment. And then we're going to hop on to our next card. So, but I'm going to go do the splattering, and then while that is drying, we're going to work on our next card. So I'll be right back. Right, so here is our panel with our gold splatter, and I did go a little bit crazy because I love gold, but I just think gold splatter is one of those things where it just takes up your panel or your background that extra little bit, because you'll remember what it looked like before, and then you're like, yeah, nice, and then you add the gold and it's like, wow, those are gonna look amazing once they're dry. But it's not dry yet, so we're gonna set this aside and let it to dry, or let it dry even, and we're gonna work on our third card. So if you don't have time to ink blend, if you don't have time to color, you can still get a colorful card with a pre-made stripy background. So this is just cardstock cut down into strips and glued directly onto a card base. And this is a super fun thing to do if you're just like, if your mojo is low, or if you just want to have a bit of fun, because it is quite addictive. So don't tell me I didn't warn you, because I do. It's addictive, okay? But it is also super fun, and then you'll have loads of backgrounds ready to go when you need a card like yesterday, which just kind of seems like happens all the time for me nowadays, because the days blur into one another, and even the months blur into one another. It's like, holy cannoli, it's September already. I don't know where the time is gone. It's just bonkers. But yeah, so we are going to place this, and it's probably going to be about the same placing as on our purple card. But what we might do is just shift it around a tiny bit to make sure that we get, no, you know what, we're gonna go right across and try to get as much of this in as possible. And then we're gonna use our magnets to hold this down, because it's probably gonna have to stamp this a fair few times. So you put your lid down, and then we are going to go stampity stamp with our black ink. I'm going to hop into a time lapse for this because it's probably going to take at least 3 layers. Right, as you can see, I've also gone ahead and I've stamped up a sentiment. So it just says, "You make me smile." And then we're just going to finish this off with some bling bling. And that is that card done. So if you make or pre-make some of these backgrounds when you're having a day when you just kind of want to create something for the fun of it, then you will have loads of these ready to go, and you can make a card in like a minute. And it's not bad, right? Colorful, pretty, and nice. So to finish this card off, we are going to add some jewels from the Pinkfresh Essentials Jewels Mix. And I think we're probably going to go with the clear, or maybe, oh, that would be nice, I think. Yeah, let's do those ones. So we are going to pick out quite a few. I am a chronic over sequinizer and blinginizer, so I probably use a lot more than any sort of normal embellishment person does, but I just love bling. I can't help it. I love bling, and I think it's just one of those things that, yeah, it can make or break a card, but I'm also like, life is short. I'm gonna use the bling, so there you have it. It's not for everyone, but I do like a bit of bling, so I'm gonna go quite crazy with this, I think. Yep. Okay, cool. So we are going to finish off our background here as well. And I'm not quite sure what to do on this one, but it feels like it should be a sentiment right across. So, and then of course we also got to finish off this one. So I think this is going to be very white. So this is probably going to get trimmed down and added to a white card base. And we're going to keep it really clean and simple. And then this will be our flat, but wow, this will be our fast but colorful. Yeah, okay. Okay, well, so here we have our 3 finished cards, and as you can see, I have used the exact same stamp set. So this is the Reason to Smile, and we have done some heat embossing with ink blending, stamping with coloring, and just stamping on top of a pre-made background. And you get 3 very different looks, and with different skill levels as well. So if you're really not confident with your coloring, you can either go for this type or this type. And if you're really not comfortable with ink blending, but you're okay with Copics, go for this or that, depending on how much time you have. But I do like seeing different ways of using the same supplies, because it just makes me feel like that's way more bang for my buck. And we all want to make sure that what we're spending is actually stuff that we're going to use. So this stamp set is really lovely. I have a great time coloring this. I had a great time heat embossing it, and I was really quite surprised at how much I like this one. So yeah, there you have it. But that's it from me for today. I really hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to subscribe to the Crafty Meraki channel. Bye, and we will see you next time.